The smartest person you know is probably the loneliest person you know, and they'll never tell you that. You know that feeling when you're in a group conversation, everyone's laughing, the energy's good, and then someone says something that's just wrong. Not like morally wrong, just factually, logically, obviously wrong. And you catch it immediately. You see the flaw, you see why it doesn't make sense. And for a split second, you want to say something. But then you look around and realize nobody else noticed. Or worse, they're all nodding along. So you just stay quiet. And in that moment, even though you're surrounded by people, something shifts. You feel slightly outside of it, like you're watching the conversation instead of being in it. That tiny gap, that's the beginning of a very specific kind of loneliness. And it compounds in ways most people never think about. Here's where it gets weird. Intelligence doesn't just change what you think. It changes how you experience everything. When you're highly intelligent, your brain is constantly processing more information than the average person. More patterns, more connections, more implications. Sounds like a superpower, right? But here's the cost. You're never fully relaxed in conversations because your brain won't shut off. While someone's telling a story, you're already 3 steps ahead, seeing where it's going, noticing the inconsistencies, thinking about the broader context. And this creates a subtle but constant disconnect. You're technically present, but you're also running a parallel track in your head that nobody else is on. It's exhausting. And over time, you start to feel like you're performing normalcy instead of just being normal. You learn to laugh at the right moments. You learn to nod along. You learn to not correct people because it makes things awkward. But every time you do that, you're hiding a small piece of yourself. And when you hide enough small pieces for long enough, you start to feel like nobody actually knows you. But here's the part nobody talks about. The loneliness isn't really about being smarter. It's about being different in a way that's invisible. See, most forms of being different are visible. If you look different, people see it. But intelligence differences are invisible. On the surface, you look exactly like everyone else. But internally, you're processing reality through a completely different filter. And here's why that creates loneliness. Humans connect through shared experience. When you feel something and someone else feels the same thing, you bond. That's how friendship works. That's how intimacy works. But when your internal experience is consistently different from those around you, those moments of true connection become rare. It's not that you can't have friends. You can. It's just that even inside those friendships, there's a layer of yourself that stays untouched. You might have great friends who you genuinely enjoy, but when something complex happens in your life, something that requires real nuance to understand, you often find yourself simplifying it for them, translating your inner world into something more digestible. And every time you translate, something gets lost. You're giving them the summary, not the real thing. By the way, if any of this is hitting different for you, consider subscribing because this channel is basically just ideas like this. Anyway, now think about this. Intelligence also messes with how people respond to you, and this might be the most counterintuitive part. You'd think being smart would make people like you more, and sometimes it does. But often it creates subtle friction. When you understand things faster than others, they can sense it, even if you're being nice about it, even if you're not correcting them or showing off. There's an unconscious awareness that the dynamic is uneven, and humans are wired to seek equal footing in relationships. Nobody's doing anything wrong. The wiring just doesn't match. But watch what happens when this compounds over years. You get tired of the surface level stuff. Small talk starts to feel almost painful, not because you're arrogant, but because your brain craves depth and complexity, like it craves food. You want to talk about ideas, patterns, why things work the way they do, but most social settings don't operate at that level. So you're stuck in this loop. You want connection, but the available connections don't satisfy you. You lower your standards and feel lonely anyway. You keep your standards and spend more time alone. Neither option fixes the problem. And slowly, you start to wonder if something's wrong with you. Why can't you just enjoy normal conversations? Why does everything feel slightly off? The answer isn't that something's wrong. The answer is that your operating system is built for a different kind of input, and you're living in a world that mostly runs on a different system. Here's what's actually happening underneath all of this. The loneliness of intelligent people isn't really about being too smart for everyone. That framing is kind of arrogant. and it misses the point. It's about rarity. The more specific your way of seeing the world, the fewer people share that way of seeing. It's basic probability. If you think and feel in ways that only 5% of people do, then 95% of your interactions will have that invisible gap. Not because anyone is better or worse, just because the overlap isn't there. And intimacy requires overlap. Real connection requires some shared experience of reality. So when your experience of reality is consistently different, even slightly, connection becomes statistically harder. Not impossible, just harder. You need more time to find your people. You need more patience. And you need to accept that most connections will have limits. That doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're specific, and being specific always comes with trade-offs. The same thing that makes you see what others miss is the thing that makes you feel unseen by others. Same trait, different angle. And maybe that's the quiet realization that changes how you think about this. The loneliness isn't a punishment for intelligence. It's just the shape that intelligence takes when it meets a world that wasn't designed for it.